Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting standpoint. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, with Lee Sterling himself of ParamountSports.com. Let me get that number for you guys up at the bottom of the screen, 1-800-400-9741, 1-800-400-9741, and you will have a hotline right to Lee Sterling, who will hopefully give you the best picks you could possibly find anywhere in the world of college and pro football. Lee, we hit the Hurricane game last week, covered the spread quite comfortably. Well, wouldn't it be great if they all were like that? You know, if you could just have those easy covers, you know, every time you go and hit the bet button.
Yep. Everything went right. I mean, got to play a bunch of kids, no major injuries from what I heard. So that's always a plus. Should have some players coming back. Looks like 2 offensive linemen will come back. Bain should be back for this game. So, I mean, the pass rush that we had so far is going to be, looks like getting even better. So that's exciting. So now the schedule starts getting a little bit tougher.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right to it. Miami's a 17-point favorite going on the road to South Florida. Lee, I want to believe this is an easy cover, but I keep looking at some of the intricacies of this game. And I personally love the fact that this is going to be a challenge for Miami. South Florida offensively is a lot to handle. They go up tempo, like relentlessly. Let's remember, when Miami lost at North Carolina last year, it was because they couldn't handle North Carolina's up tempo offense. You can bet that they are working hard this go around on the up-tempo offense. But you've got a quarterback in Byron Brown that you have to deal with, a guy with, just an unbelievable resume. I mean, you go back to 2023, threw for 3,292 yards with 26 touchdowns. Also had several rushing touchdowns.
Gary had 11.
Yeah.
That's more 11, than several.
Yeah. Yes, 11 rushing touchdowns, 809 yards rushing. He has gotten off to a little bit of a slower start this year, but he threw for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns and rushed for 72 more, and another score in last week's victory against Southern Mississippi. So this is a guy that can create problems for you in multiple ways. They have a receiver by the name of Sean Atkins, who has put up big numbers. He's a former walk-on, but has become a real go-to guy for Brown. So when you factor in the up-tempo, the quarterback, and their capability to hurt you in multiple ways, Lee, I believe this is the biggest challenge for Miami, obviously, so far this year. I think it's a bigger challenge than Florida was. You have a night game at Tampa. The student body is riled up. They're selling a lot of student tickets. They opened up the upper deck, which they don't usually do, to accommodate the crowd that is growing. Now, some of that's going to be Miami fans, but it's going to be a raucous atmosphere at Raymond James Stadium on Saturday night. They're going to be thinking upset. Miami has to be able to come in there and handle all of that.
Yeah, and Brown presents problems also because we have not faced a mobile quarterback yet. So, things don't go right for them. Things break down. He can run. He's a big, strong kid. It's not like a kid that can just run. He's a scat back. He's strong. He's like 220-something pounds. So, big boy. And a lot of times not going to run for 30, 40 yards, but he'll run 3rd and 7 for 8, 10 yards, get a first down. And if they're smart, I think in studying Miami and looking at the last couple games, I don't think he has the receivers that can really hurt the Miami secondary, like North Carolina did last year with Walker. I think he's going to throw underneath to his backs out of the backfield and let them get one-on-one. I mean, we've had some of our linebackers miss tackles, been a little slow to get into coverage. So, whether it's a zone or man-to-man, I think we need to improve. That's probably one area that we can improve on, and I think some of our opponents are going to try to, take advantage of. And like I said, it's a tough game. I mean, I think 17 is a little too high. I thought it was going to open up like 12.5, 13. You know, when you beat teams bad, like look at Tennessee, the next game we're going to talk about. Tennessee is outscored their opponents like 190-13. You know, the line for Tennessee, Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago would have been a pick 'em, maybe Tennessee 2 or 3. Now Tennessee's a 7-point favorite. We're 17 because we just handled everyone. So,
yeah, now don't make your pick yet.
No,
because I'm going to give you a little bit of a counter to what you're thinking, because I'm thinking a lot of the same. And the other factor that I see is going to be Miami getting into its rotations on the defensive line. South Florida is going to try to keep them from doing that, try to wear down the guys on the field. So that's going to be an issue without question. But now there's a flip side, and that is South Florida's defense. They won last week against Southern Miss, but they gave up 397 passing yards and 472 total yards. Still were able to win the game, which tells you what they can do themselves offensively. But now they got to deal with Cam Ward. And Miami showed last week they have their passing game in a really good spot. The thing I wonder about, Lee, is when you look at the way South Florida plays, I'm not sure that wide open offense that we saw against Ball State is the best way to attack this game, because you got to give your defense some rest. Like they're going to have a handful, with the pace that South Florida plays at and containing the quarterback and those things. The defense is gonna have a job to do out there. So I think Miami might use this opportunity to get their running game going, even though they'll know they can throw the ball, pretty much when they feel they want to and need to. But this might be a good time to ramp up the running game a little bit this week and do a little bit more ball control at times in this game to give the defense a bit of a break.
Well, all 4 running backs have looked good, and we're getting back 2 linemen. So, hey, if you don't have to put your quarterback in harm's way, that's usually the best way to do it, especially when you're deep at running back. So that would be ideal. The thing that doesn't make sense for South Florida, when you're playing bad teams, you want more possessions, because the chance of you losing the more possessions, if you have a couple turnovers, lessens. But against an Alabama or Miami, you need less possessions. You need 8, 9 possessions. You don't want 13, 14, 15 possessions. Alabama was able to overcome 3 fumbles and beat them by 20-something points here. I think this might be the game where Cam Ward, who knows, we fumble. I think South Florida is going to pull out all stops. I wouldn't be surprised.
They're good at forcing turnovers.
That's and I think they're also going to pull maybe a trick play or 2.
Maybe.
They have no choice.
No, this is the Super Bowl for that program.
Yeah.
They got the Miami Hurricanes coming in.
They might be the second best team in Florida. I mean, probably better than Florida. Could be better than Florida State. Might be better also than Central Florida. I just think the matchup with their quarterback, his mobility might give us trouble. I think we might see a high-scoring game. I have Miami winning this game 45-30. Not a real strong call, but I would take South Florida plus the 17. I don't see us losing the game, though.
All right, fair enough. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think this team should embrace the competition. I don't. I've been talking about this on some of our other shows and stuff. Like, I don't feel like you can get better if you're not challenged. From a preparation standpoint, from a mental standpoint on game day. I just think it's really important, if this team is going to get to where it wants to be at the end of the year, they got to have moments like they might have on Saturday night where they have to respond. And so I'm really looking forward to this trip and this game. I don't know which side I fall on, but I see where you're coming from with thinking that the line might be a little bit too high at 17. All right, a couple other games in college football I did want to ask you about. You got Tennessee -7 going on the road to Oklahoma. It's one of those games that we're not used to, but now with the conference shakeups, you got these like crazy games in college football now, and Tennessee at Oklahoma as an SEC game is certainly one of them. 7-point favorites. Lee, is the hype for Tennessee real?
Well, the coach is named Josh Heupel, so he's going back to where he won a national title.
Like him? Huh?
2000. So it's going to be some pressure on him there. I think they've looked unbelievable, Tennessee, so far. But they're going to be playing a team that's very good at home, Oklahoma. Just hasn't put it all together yet, but I think has a good defense. How about their quarterback for Tennessee? Nico, I mean,
I'm a believer.
something like that. I don't think that's what it's pronounced, but it's something close.
Something
so
close.
He's looked really good, number 8. And his first game was a neutral site game against Iowa. They won 35-0. Iowa was decimated with injuries, but he looked good. Then they play a home game, easy win. Go on, play a neutral site game against NC State. Blowout NC State. It was close until a pick 6 right before the half. And then they come home and win 71-0. They have outscored their opponents 190-13 this year. Because Oklahoma struggled a little bit with Houston and also Tulane, I think that's why the line is sitting at 7 here. So remember this about Tennessee. Josh Heupel, good at home, crazy crowd, 108, 110,000. And they're adding that 10% surcharge next year to pay their athletes. They went on the road twice last year against ranked opponents. And this is what shows me what a coach is all about. They lost by 14 points to Alabama and lost by 29 to Missouri. I think that Oklahoma is going to pull the stunner and win 30-28.
Wow. That'd be really interesting. And then there's another one that might be, really might be more interesting than Tennessee at Oklahoma. That's USC taking the trip to Michigan to play the defending national champs, who obviously have not gotten off to as quick a start as they would like. And USC is -6 on the road in that game, propelled by their victory over LSU earlier this season. What do you think of that game, Lee?
Well, maybe USC's win isn't so great now, because when you look at LSU and watch their play against South Carolina, they probably should have lost the game. They got a couple favorable calls that helped them win that game. South Carolina is no great shake. So I'm not so sure how good USC is. Now they got to play new conference. We get a weird game. It's a conference game. They got to go on the road. Big house, usually a tough place to play. Now they were playing this kid named Davis Warren, West Michigan. 3 games through 6 interceptions, former walk-on. Finally benched him with dual threat quarterback Alex Orji. Alex Orji, I always thought was the better quarterback. I watched the spring game and he's their guy. And for some reason, I think they thought, okay, if we don't commit turnovers, we'll go with a guy that, might be more steady. But turns out not the case. So they're going to go from a no threat in Davis Warren to a dual threat in Alex Orji. I think that's the difference here. Also like the fact that Michigan, I think their offensive line can match up with the defensive line for USC. Just didn't think that in that first game, when I watched USC, LSU's offensive line or defensive line impressed me here. So another wrong team favored. Michigan outright 24-20.
So going with the 2 home teams in those 2 marquee games, that they'll both be interesting this weekend. And we were joking earlier about Florida State and how they're off this just a horrendous.
Gary, I can't do a Florida State game until they win. When they win, we'll start doing their games again. If not, we'll just discount them like we would Wake Forest or someone like that.
Well, they're going to give Miami a preview of Cal because they're going up. They're going up to play Cal, and that'll be an interesting game as well. Lee's sitting that one out. Okay, the Florida and Florida State don't get his attention until they actually win a game.
Right.
All right, Lee. What do you got going at Paramount Sports? Anything? Any specials this week?
Yeah, this is what we got going. So it's called the Baker's Dozen. Probably the most anticipated promotion we do all year. We do it like 2 or 3 times a year. It's $97 for 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday. So there's a lot of games I like. And I'm so sure I'm going to produce a winning card. If I don't have a winning card, if I don't go, we've had some 12-1, 11-2, 10-3 finishes. But if I don't go 7-6 or better, you're going to get next week's football card for free. So if you make money, you're going to be happy and you'll be more than happy to pay the freight going forward. But If I, for some reason, lose, next week's for free. And I'll throw in the baseball too through Sunday. So we're on a roll right now in baseball. I'm going to throw that in. We'll text you those baseball games through Sunday because I know if I win for you there, you're going to want to maybe join me for $97 through the World Series. There are more ways to make money. So Baker's Dozen, just $97. If you've never been with me or for some reason dropped off for some reason, it's the time. $97 for 13 games of action Saturday and Sunday. It's an instant download. As soon as you purchase it, window pops open, so you don't have to call me back Saturday or Sunday. You're all ready to go. ParamountSports.com or call 800-400-9741.
As long as you don't want a Florida or Florida State pick.
Right.
He's boycotting those two teams. All right, Lee. Well, we thank you so much for joining us once again for You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, and we thank all of you for watching. Until next time, he's Lee. I'm Gary. We'll catch you next week, everybody.